if you can't imagine your dreams coming true with your eyes closed, how much harder is it going to be to make those dreams come true with your eyes wide open? I'll show you what 5 steps in less than 2 minutes. You can track not just how you're moving the body, how you're feeding your body, but also track how you're feeding your mind and how you're feeding your spirit. Less than 2 minutes, you can quickly see, are you doing the things that could be beneficial for you to get where you want to go? Maybe they can open your eyes that some of your habits and attitudes need to be readjusted to hopefully get to where you want to go. And so 5 steps a day is just a simple way to track how you feed body, how you feed your mind, how you feed your spirit.
Welcome back to another episode of Sculpt N Create. I'm your host, Trea Da Fit Artist, and today for episode 46, I got a conversation that goes way deeper than just workouts, meal plans, and reps in the gym. My guest today is Dr. Len Lopez, a chiropractic sports physician, clinical nutritionist, strength and conditioning coach, inventor, author, and the creator of 5 Steps, S.T.E.P.S a day. Now, Dr. Len has spent over 25 years helping people learn how to eat right, train smart, and understand what their body is really telling them. But what makes this conversation powerful is how he connects the body, the mind, and the spirit in a way that's simple, practical, and real. We talk about everything from recovering after breaking his back at 21, to why digestion matters more than people think, to how busy artists, creatives, entertainers, and everyday high performers can stop just surviving off convenience and start making choices that actually support their energy, focus, performance, and purpose. And one of the biggest things he brings to the table is this idea. You are what you eat, but you are also what you think. So if you're feeding your body junk, feeding your mind negativity, and neglecting your spirit, eventually your life is going to show it. This episode is for anybody trying to get healthier, stay sharper, move better, think better, and live with more intention, especially when life gets busy. So lock in, because Dr. Len Lopez is about to break down how to feed your body, mind, and spirit one step at a time. Let's get into it. And while you're listening, make sure you hit subscribe or follow and drop a comment with your biggest takeaways from the episode. Welcome to Sculpt N Create, where fitness fuses creativity and helping artists, entertainers, and creators on their journey towards physical, personal, and career growth. I'm your host, Trea Da Fit Artist, and who I have with me today is Dr. Len Lopez. He's a chiropractic sports physician, clinical nutritionist, strength and conditioning coach. Welcome to the show, Dr. Len.
Hey, good morning, Trey. Thank you for having me this morning.
Man, I'm glad you can make it, man. And they say you in Texas, right? So you just had that bit of rain came through, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad the thunder's gone and everything, because if it comes back, I don't know what it does to my internet. So the sun's out, got some good sunlight in my window, so hopefully we can make it happen.
Yeah, hopefully it's all good, man. And we got a little bit of y'all weather too, because it's been raining since last week, and then it started this week too as well. So hopefully we start seeing some dry days here in Mississippi. So, okay, so before we get started, man, let everybody know where they can find you and maybe partake in your services and hold on to basically set your links out and so forth.
Okay. Yeah. As you said, again, appreciate the introduction, Trey. I'm Dr. Len Lopez. You can always find me anywhere at Dr. Len Lopez, Dr. Len Lopez, on any of the social things, website. If you Google Dr. Len Lopez, you will find me. That's for sure. And I think that's it and everything. As you said, for about the last 25 years, I've been in the health and fitness industry. I've been helping people learn how to eat right and train smart. And over the last about 3 years or so, through my practice, I just started, when you start hearing patients tell you their story after about the second, third, fourth visit, they start sharing a little bit more about not just their fitness, journey that they're trying to improve, but then they just share more about their life headaches. Mm-hmm. And I used to always think, gosh, I think I know what I should tell them, but my lane is over here. I'm in the health and fitness lane. I'm not in the psychology lane and everything like that, or motivational, this, that, and the other. And then it must have been really about a couple of years ago, I was interviewed for an article on health and fitness. I came back a year later in Authority magazine and said, hey, Doc, we really love the piece we did on health and fitness. Can we do another one on kind of the whole body, mind, and spirit thing? Not so much, reps and sets and stuff like that, but just kind of how it all ties together. So I kind of scratched my head and I said, gosh, do I share with them something I created years ago? Today I call it 5 steps a day. And they
Hmm.
said, oh, this is the coolest thing. We've never seen a simple way to track how you feed body, mind, and spirit. And so that's kind of my journey right now, just trying to, it seemed like they got such a great response from the editors in the magazine. They said, hey, maybe there's something about tracking, not just your physical fit step that everybody does, but how can you track your body and what you're doing for your body and for your mind and your spirit?
Yeah. Okay. And I definitely feel you on that, especially when you talking to people and they come to you with all type of problems they having outside of the fitness realm. And yeah, you do have to have that kind of a therapist hat, in a sense, because because you got to break down their psyche before they even start to do anything towards the fitness stuff. You learn real quick that a lot of this stuff is just more mental, not even just like why they don't want to work out or can't work out. It's more so other stuff that is going on in their life before they even get to that part
Right.
too. Yeah. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
a lot of it is just common, like my dad would say, just horse sense, and if you just kind of just hear stuff out and everything. But as I was trying to say, that I try to stay in my lane. Okay, let's stay with that health and fitness. I'm not going to address their headaches with their employer, with their relationship with their wife and their kids and their career and their boss. Let me just stay over here. Let me answer their questions on health and fitness, how to get them, healthy and strong, and but it's like anybody with good common sense. You could hear it and you could see kind of not where they were lacking, but it was also, I think, therapeutic for them as well to just share some stuff. But I try to stay in my own lane, and I'm not trying to help anybody in those other
Hmm.
arenas. But I'm just trying to, when I created 5 steps, it's just about, hey. It's important to feed your body, which I know what we're going to be talking about, and exercising the
Hmm.
body, which is very therapeutic for yourself. But it's also therapeutic when you look at it. What are you doing for your mind? What are you doing for your spirit? Because we are, whether you want to believe it or not, I believe it, that we are
Hmm.
body, mind, and spirit. And so it's like three legs of a stool. They all need to be they support you. And are you doing a good enough? Are you doing a good job to make sure that those three stool legs are holding you up the way you want to be held up?
Yeah, most definitely, man. And like I said, it goes a long way. Not people just think about the body part of thing or just the eating side, but they're not understanding the spiritual side of it or the mindset of it to achieve a healthy and fit lifestyle. And I do understand that. So, like, so with that said, you a chiropractic sports physician, a clinical nutritionist, strength and conditioning coach. Can you like kind of explain all three of your titles there? Kind of like what you do in those titles.
Well, it must have been, I think I was like I was still a senior. I was a senior in college. I was about 21 and I broke my
Mm,
back playing ball. And so I first started on in the medical profession, the first year of college and everything. And it's kind of like the whole movie Animal House hit me, and I just completely took a different turn in my life and everything. And so I got out of that and was in the business world for several years. But it was after about 10 years after I broke my back, then I realized, I really dug what the doctors helped me, and the only doctor that really helped me with my back after it got, a compression fracture, right,
mm-hmm.
was this one chiropractor. And he just really just helped me so much and everything. And it must have been about 10 years later, after I hurt myself, I just started thinking, maybe I want to get back in the health field. And instead of going in the traditional medical route, I went
Mm-hmm.
that way. And I'll share a story with you. I was in college, and right after that, I was on a flight, and it happened the person sitting next to me on the plane was an investigative reporter.
Okay.
So, she just dug up a conversation, and we just started talking about health and wellness. And he
Mm-hmm.
was doing research and our stories on how in the other 90% of the world, what we call medicine here, that's considered alternative medicine in these
Yeah.
other countries, right? But over here in the United States, we consider natural holistic medicine as alternative medicine. And he just got me just scratch my head thinking about that, because you go to India, Peru, South America, they're using the herbs and the chanting and the flowers and this, that, and the other concoctions you drink and everything. And I scratch my head and I go, my aunt was a curandera, which is
Mm-hmm.
the Spanish word for, and my dad would say she's a witch doctor. But a curandera is a term that really means healer. And so people in the community, and I remember when I was a kid, we'd go over to their house, or she'd come over to our house, and other people would come to the house, and she would do whatever she did to
Mm-hmm.
help them because she was a healer. And that just kind of helped me move from just traditional, you have a stomach problem, here, take this medication. Oh, your liver's a problem, take this medication. Your kidneys are a problem, take this medication. Hey, we are just all grouped as one. Maybe we need to look at the whole of what we're doing. And that's kind of where, I moved into. And then I got fortunate because I just either divine intervention, but it just led me to some people that were really leaders in their arena, and they taught me well.
Okay, I got you. And so basically, like what you're saying is the journey. As you explained, it seemed like it's the journey what led you to be a chiropractic sports physician, and then now a clinical nutritionist as well. So that explained those two. So like for how you got into it, and then we're gonna kind of get a little more deeper in it as well. So what got you into the strength and conditioning coaching?
Well, I grew up as an athlete. Me and my three brothers, we were all athletes and everything. We weren't very good, but we were we were just. Oh, my brothers were really good. I was there, but so we was always into health and fitness. I was a scrawny little guy that
Mm-hmm.
when nobody was really kicking sand in my face and everything, but I was just a scrawny little guy with like 9-inch biceps. And so I just started, reading the health and fitness, muscle fitness magazines when I was back in 75 and 74 and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
it just started just help educating me about some of the stuff. And then when I got into practice, I thought, and I've shared this with others when after I became a doctor, right? I thought I would be, for the next 40 years, just treating people with back pain and neck pain and shoulder pain, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But just to build my practice, I would go out and talk, and next thing you know, I'm having people come in because they heard me talk about, hey, fatigue, I'm having headaches, I'm having all these digestive problems, having all these hormonal problems. And so that just led me to start thinking, let's look at how we feed the body. Okay.
Okay.
Not just protein and calories and fat grams. Are you, how are you absorbing the food you're eating? Can your body handle that? Are you, that's why I say you need to learn how to eat right and train smart. Those are the principles that I've created
Mm-hmm.
or followed and everything. And that was the big thing. It's just not, exercise is only part of the equation, and it's not the biggest part. You get a bigger bang for your buck on how you nourish the body after your workout. Unfortunately, a lot of people put all their energy into their workout, and they forget, sleep and repair process is a bigger flux on what the results you're going to get. So that's kind of how I moved into that arena.
Okay, I got you. Okay, and what I want to talk about going back into the chiropractic sports, being a chiropractic sports physician. So you said that you had your had a back injury and so forth, as well as me. I had a knee injury. I broke my knee about 5 years back, and so I can definitely understand how that must have been for you. But I want to like kind of shine a light on that a little bit more. Where how was that going through a back injury and so forth for you? Because when you think about artists, entertainers, they constantly they body is their meal ticket, so to speak. So you know what I'm
They're
saying. So
tools.
right. So they got to be strong, not just strong minded, but physically strong too as well. Especially if a music artist is performing, actor doing certain type of performance roles and so forth. They got to make sure they strong and able to keep enduring those long sets and being on stage and so forth. So with that said, like talk to me like how what was that like? What was going through your mind when you hurt your back in one moment, and what got you through it as well?
Gosh, that was tough because I was living on my own. I was 21. I was in my last year of college and everything. It was just a new adventure. I couldn't do what I'd been doing before, as far as going to the gym, once a day and to exercise, because I couldn't do anything. And then just even taking care of myself, trying to feed myself, bathe and shower and all that was just a real headache. But over the next few weeks, few months, it got better and better and better. And again, there was this one chiropractor who was one of the teachers over at Texas Chiropractic College, and he was a sports chiropractor as well. And I think he was, at the time, he was doing lots of stuff with the Houston Oilers. And I just thought, I don't know what you're doing in this. A lot of the muscle tests that he was doing to try to figure stuff out. but he would test various muscles and just, I would touch here, touch here, various spots on my body, and all of a sudden it would turn a muscle off. It's like, gosh, I know I was strong as heck. Why did it just by touching here, it made me weak, and then I touch over here, there's no difference. And so it just started, putting that together and everything. And as I said, when I met that one reporter on the plane, he
Hmm.
helped me think about just different things. And when you look at the broad picture here in the United States, Western medicine, everything is on the nervous system. You go to Asia and everything just, you're using your acupressure points. They're not looking at the
Hmm.
spinal nerve and this and there. They're looking at the acupressure points. And so the other countries, they've looked at healing through that aspect. And so which one is right? I'm not going to
Hmm.
say, they can both be right at the same time. It's just about, get in. I shouldn't say this, but I will. I always tell people when they talk with their doctor, just don't forget, guys, doctors are no different than plumbers, mechanics, and electricians.
Hmm.
You go to the plumber, you have a plumber, mechanic, electrician come to your home and everything. They
Hmm.
give you a bill and you go, yeah, do I need a second opinion on that? So when you go to your doctor, doctors make money just like plumbers, mechanic, electricians. They depend on people coming to their door to
Hmm.
make a living. And so sometime when the doctor tells you, oh, oh, Mr. Jones, you have a herniated disc, we need to do this and this and this for you. And oh, that sounds really terrible. I don't know if I can afford surgery. And is that going to be good? There's some things you just kind of need to double check. And
Hmm.
not to say doctors they're no different than plumbers, mechanics, and electricians. If I
Hmm.
write it this way, I can get a surgery out of this meniscus tear
Yeah.
versus or this low back injury versus, and as we've learned, politicians, clergy, they can be a little unscrupulous as well. So
Hmm.
anybody can be unscrupulous for that magic, for that dollar. And so just always, get a good second opinion.
Well, yeah, most definitely. And so, what would you say to the artist entertainer when they are maybe if they're going through an accident or like they could sprain something or broke something? What would you say to them? And then like also too, how can they prevent that from happening in the future?
Well, as far as for one, I guess if you get any kind of a diagnosis from your doctor, whether it be something that's broken or torn physically, or just the fatigue, headaches, this, that, and the other, there's different approaches to treat various maladies, and that's kind of how I made my living. As I was trying to say earlier, I thought I'd be just adjusting necks and backs and ankles and shoulders and everything. Next thing you know, I'm on TV on various TV shows, and we're talking all about heart, blood pressure, and diabetes, and headaches, and indigestion, and hormone imbalance. And so people were trying to figure out how to deal with that, and they were looking for another alternative as opposed to let me just take another medication
Okay.
that my doctors give me for this or another medication that my doctor's giving me for that. And so,
Mm.
it's about life is a journey, how you want to get to where you want to go. And that, I always tell everybody, you know, where do you want to go in life, and where do you want to go in your quest for better health. Sometimes you go to your doctor, you think that they are just as holier than thou, but in all honesty, and again, I come from a long line of plumbers, mechanics, and electricians. I used to be a general contractor years
Right.
ago, and just seeing some of the doctors that I've talked with over the years, and I'll do several second opinions, and just say, yeah, I don't know if I would follow that route. For your pain, I think it may be coming from something else, not from your spine, because there'd be some other indicators for the for that low back problem that you're having. There would be some other indicator, maybe the senses, maybe the your reflexes would be different. It would follow the same nerve pattern as opposed to just generalized pain. That's more mechanical, and just finding somebody that can really help you fix that, address the problem and everything.
Okay, gotcha. So more so, are you saying don't always look for the medical route? Kind of get to the root of the problem and kind of find and possibly see other alternative or holistic approaches to helping them with certain ailments. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I'm not saying don't try. I'm saying, yeah, definitely go to your doctor, get their opinion and everything. But it's when they tell you you need to do this, this, and this, and it seems kind of like that Seinfeld episode. Oh, go to the mechanic. You got to have a trust. You have to trust the mechanic. You need a new Johnson rod. If you know that
Right,
episode, and it's
right.
like you don't know, and because if I don't know cars. I used to back in the '70s, right? But the cars are different than they are today, right?
Most
And so
definitely.
you don't know, and so you have to trust somebody that can give you that opinion, or get two different opinions to say to make sure you're on the same path, especially if it's something that is. And I said that because I've ran into too many people that followed their advice from the doctor. They had a surgery and they're not better. Sometimes they're worse, and I can go into all kinds of other stories like that. But it's just you want to make sure, and like I said, people in the just because you're wearing a white coat, and I say this also just for some of the really, what do you call them, the ailments that people have, those bad diagnoses that you get in that okay, well, do I listen to what this doctor's telling me who's wearing the white jacket, or do I come to someone like Dr. Lopez was talking
Hmm.
about nutrition, this, that, and the other for my ailment. And I can always just think of one time one patient is telling me who had a very, very bad diagnosis and everything. And their doctors are telling them, don't worry, just you can eat ice cream. That's fine. Ain't gonna make a difference. We're gonna go do some surgery on you in the next to fix your problem. And
Yeah,
so just gotta be in rhythm with what you're trying to get done.
yeah. I definitely feel you on that, especially when it comes to, I know how I felt, how it was when I broke my knee. I was, scared and like didn't know. I had actually went to I had a colleague of mine, so rest in peace. He was talking. I had went to and asked him, like, got his second opinion once the doctor had diagnosed me and said, yeah, you got a broken medial tibial bone and everything. And I was like, man, I was trying to see, well, maybe I need to go to him, to the chiropractor and everything, Andre, for that. And he was like, man, nah, there's nothing I can fix. Yeah, you're gonna have to get surgery for that, and so forth. And but when I went through the surgery, you heard those stories, like, they were telling me, like like I might later on need to have another surgery later. So you like, well, what's if that's what you fixing, like, how would I need another why would, another surgery later? So that didn't make sense to me before, but I went on with the surgery and everything good. I like, and 5 years later I didn't have no complications with it, or wasn't really in pain before or after, long and so
That's
forth.
good.
So yeah, so but definitely I understand, what you're saying. I just wanted to share that story, like how that was for me, but I want to ask you this too. With you being a chiropractic sports physician, so I'm assuming you work with more athletes as well, right?
Yes, when I was in practice,
Uh-huh.
I'm not in full practice. I just do more second opinions now.
Okay.
Yeah, whoever came to me who seeking help and everything. Some people came to me because of injuries. Other
Hmm.
people came to me because they had some bad diagnosis. Some of the chronic degenerative problems that you hear a lot of, from headaches, fatigue, hormonal imbalances, colitis, Crohn's, lupus, MS, stuff like that. They're going, I just, I don't want to take another medication. Is there something I need to be doing that could be? And so that's always the root of it and everything. And I know we're talking, with you more health and fitness. And so one thing I always tell everybody, remember, you eat 3 times a day typically, right? And so are you putting food in your body that's going to strengthen, nourish your body or not? And then they'll
Yes.
go, "Yeah, I eat good food, doc." Okay, the second question is, this is what I said, there's 3 parts of eating right and 3 parts of training smart. The second part I always ask is, after you eat your food, the only thing you should feel after you eat is less hungry. Unfortunately, a lot of my patients, they say,
Eat to get
"Well,
full.
yeah, I'm less hungry, but I'm dealing with bloating, gas, indigestion,
Hmm.
arthritis, poopiness, whatever it may be." I
Hmm.
mean, that's a sign that the food you're putting in to nourish your body, it's not mixing well inside your tummy, and it's
Right.
creating some other complications for you. So you need to make sure you address that. Is it what you eat, which is the second part? Is it what you eat or how you eat? Are you eating
Hmm.
on the wrong foods? Are you eating food that don't combine very well? Think
Uh-huh.
about that. Or is it how you eat? Are you constantly eating on the go, on the run, in the car, in a hurry, which kind of shuts down your digestive system? And just because you ate it doesn't mean your body can process it. Maybe so,
Most definitely.
your body has two different systems, and sometimes it's time to eat, but then I got to get back to work, got to
Hmm.
go, and you're turning your digestive system off, which which starts the snowball effect. You don't break down the food properly, it starts rotting inside your body. You're feeding the bad bacteria, bloated gas, diarrhea, and the list goes on.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely, man. 'Cause I tell my clients that too, man. It's like, is this food beneficial to you or detrimental to what you got going on? So whether that be what you trying to lose weight or you trying to gain more strength or perform better, is what you eating beneficial or detrimental to you? And oftentimes, most time when people do eat, they eat by happenstance. When they hungry, then they want to grab the next thing that's to them, so they won't be full no more. And then they usually all your rationale goes out the window, and and you start to eat whatever so you can quell that hunger, and that's not the way to eat. So you gotta like be more mindful and intentional, is what I always say in that regard. So would you working with you say you don't do it more so now, but like, what would you say to the artists, entertainers, especially with them, constantly on the road, demanding schedules, and we was talking about time and so forth earlier before this call. What would you say? How are they able to get their diet in a more effective and efficient manner?
Well, here's the way I try to answer, because everybody's life is different, right? And so their life is different. There's various complications and headaches and everything. And I talk about eating right, and I always say there's three aspects of eating right. And we just said it a minute ago. The first rule of eating right is do no harm to your tummy. And what I mean by that is the only thing you should feel, Trey, after you eat is less hungry. Unfortunately, so many people after they eat, they're bloated, gassy, poopy, squirty, they just have all this other complications going on. And I don't know if it's an upper GI problem or a lower GI problem.
Hmm.
Do your complications happen in the first 20, 30 minutes of your eating, or is it more like an hour and a half later? So,
Yeah.
and it could be both, right? Because it's typically starts with an upper GI problem, then it exacerbates into a lower GI problem to where you have
Hmm.
both complications. But you have to look at what you're eeating and how you're eating, which is the second stage of eating right. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I always, because when clients come to me all the time, or people just come to me in general, they always say, "Well, I've been eating this, and I've been eating more salads, drinking more water." I like, yeah, okay, that's the what. How are you eating though? That's the biggest, more thing that's most important. Like how many calories a day you eating, what the macros you getting, that you get enough protein, whatever the case is, and stuff like that. All right, in the group, go ahead. What you about to say?
Now, I always tell everybody, so many of our health problems, and I think it's one of the first domino that falls, you know,
Mm,
poor digestive function and stress. I think those are the two root causes of so many other health complications.
right.
And again, those are the first two dominoes that fall. And I always say, it's not just what you eat, but it's how you eat. I said the first one is, the only thing you should feel after eating is less hungry. But so many people, and here's maybe not the difference between men and women, but when they would fill out my health questionnaire for whatever health complication they had, they'd
Mhm,
come accurately, for lack of a
mhm.
better way of saying they lie, but they would not fill
I
in the
really,
section
yeah,
honestly about,
yeah.
how bloated, gassy, poopy, squirty they were. But a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they'd come back and say, "Hey, doc, I'm doing a whole lot better. I've been following what you've been saying. And this section here, I wasn't really very honest with you on that. But yeah, I was kind of embarrassed to sit there and tell you how bad that was." And I've learned through this over the years in practice, people and women and men are more than happy to tell you if their blood pressure's high, if their allergies are crazy, or their hormones are whacked out, but they never tell you how bloated, gassy, burpy, poopy, and they feel and everything. That's just something
Yeah,
you never talk about.
okay. And yeah, expound on that, like, why do you think that they don't wanna address that?
I don't know. what's going to be the motivating factor? And I've had somebody ask me, what's the motivating factor for people getting healthy? Well, a lot of times people don't realize that that's really the first stone that falls, the first domino, right? That all the distress. Think about this, Trey. When you put food in your body, it's designed to what? Nourish your body, not
Yeah.
just make you feel like, oh, yummy cupcakes, right? But
Yeah.
it's designed to nourish your body. And
Right,
but if
right.
you first put it in, what I say, step one, do no harm to your tummy. You get bloated, gassy, all these other symptoms. That tells me you're not extracting the macronutrients from the food you just ate. It could be the best grass fed, organic, this, that, and the other. But if you're not, if it explodes inside your tummy, you're not extracting the nutrients out of there.
Mm,
You're not able to break down the micronutrients, get the vitamins and minerals out of that to help your body function. And so that's what I think people miss all the time. And I mean, I can't tell you how many people say, "Well, doc, my diet's pretty good. I'm eating all this rare, this lean, this grass
mm,
fed, yada yada yada." But when I look at their symptomatology, that's really bad. That's not that's
right.
telling me what you're putting in is good, but you're doing a bad job breaking it down. So let's fix that. Let's address that here. And so that goes to what I always say. Number two, as far as eating right, is it what you eat? How you eat, is it what you eat, the bad combinations, just the wrong kind of foods, too much processed this, and it could be,
Mhm,
right?
right.
But there's a lot of people that are eating organic this and high grain this and grass fed that, and they still have all these symptoms because maybe it's more how they eat on the run, on the go, in the car, in a hurry. And I always tell everybody, here's one thing that your doctors won't give you. And some of them will tell you, but it's really not the emphasis. The prescription should be sit, eat, and relax. Because when you sit, eat, and relax, you allow your resting digestive system to turn on. And this is going
Mhm,
to help your body break down its food. And you have two systems. You have a resting digesting system. You have a fight or flight system. And I
okay.
think I'm sure many of your audience have heard of that, but
Mhm,
they don't work together at the same time. When it's time to fight or flight, it turns off, and digestive health is, your body's not worried about processing that nice steak you had. It's about just
yeah,
running and fleeing and
I get you.
surviving, right?
Right,
That's what happens. We're eating on the go, on the run. How many drive-through restaurants do we have out there? People flying in there trying
most
to eat.
definitely.
They have 30, 45 minutes to eat. They finish their great workout, yet they hustle, 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 and it's go, go, go. Are they allowing their body to break down the food they put in their body? And so,
Mhm,
they'll show me, yeah, this is what I eat. This is my workout. Well, yeah, your workout's great. The nutrients you're eating is great, but it's how you're eating. And I
mhm,
and I like to use this analogy and see if it makes sense to you. They there's not a prescription that you can give you to say, hey, sit, eat, and relax. But if you watch any old classic movie, Braveheart, Gladiator, right? You
mhm.
don't see them on their way to work, riding down on their horse to go battle or go do whatever, swinging a sword in one hand and a turkey leg in the other, right? But that's how we here in America live our life. People are just going,
Yeah.
going, going, and just trying to eat what they can to get going, to get where they need to go.
Yeah, I feel you, and that's the reason why I had brought up with the artist entertainers. That's the core of what goes on with them because it's hard for them to actually get the food that they can get in with their schedules. Like they can be free right now, then something just pull them all of a sudden. They got to go handle something or do something all of a sudden. So like that's why bring me back to the same question is like what steps or what things can they do to eat more effectively and efficiently in that manner. For the how is what you was talking about earlier.
Well, right now the World Cup is going on here, right? So one
Uh-huh.
of the things I keep on hearing is that they say Europeans that are coming over here to the United States, they're not
Mm,
used to tipping and everything, right?
yeah,
Well, if when
I
I
ain't
would
heard that.
when I've been in Europe, it takes forever to get through a meal because it's designed to just relax and be easy, this, that, and the other. Unfortunately, here in the States, it's go, 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 go. And here's a tip I'll give everybody as far as one of the first things I'll give patients, depending on their symptomatology and what we're dealing with,
Mhm,
is is digestive enzymes.
Okay.
Okay. Because, when you eat your food, you're signaling your body some food's coming down. And so the signals going here say, hey, send these enzymes, send this acid to break down this piece of chicken, to break down these vegetables, to break down this, that, and the other, to digest everything. But if you're eating on the go, on the run in the car, right? That's not happening. You're blunting your body's ability to produce those necessary enzymes and acid to break down your food. So one of the first things I give a lot of patients, depending on their symptomatology, and I've seen this a lot, is digestive enzymes.
Right.
Because if you're going to eat on the run, in the car, on the go, and I do that too. Please don't think, oh, no, I have a busy schedule too, right? And so when I do have that going on, I'll make sure I'll have some enzymes with me because I know I have to get to this next, this, that, and the other, and
Mhm.
I need some support and everything. Oh, cool! I have some chewable digestive enzymes that can help me break down the food because my body's not going to be able to contribute the necessary enzymes, the necessary acid to break down this protein bar I just ate in the car, right? Now, if eating an apple in the car, it's not nearly as bad, right? An apple, a banana, carrot, anything like that, because it's a natural product, right? It's easier to break down. But if you're eating anything that's been cooked and processed and everything, it's harder.
Yeah.
And so, and especially if it's been cooked, processed, if there's protein in there, protein is just a harder thing to break down. You need acid. Unfortunately, a lot of the commercials out there are saying, oh, you have acid just too much acid. Well, maybe all the effects you're having is because you don't have enough acid because you turn the acid producer off because you go, 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 go. And here's the reason why you need acid, guys. Just think about this. We haven't been since the beginning of time eating on white tablecloth. Linen,
Yeah.
linen cloths out there.
Most
So
of
when you eat protein, when you eat food, the way it's designed the body is that, hey, let's put some acid into the stomach because there could be bacteria, there can be germs, there can be microbes, there can be all kinds of other things in the food we're ingesting, and so you need that acid to kill off all those microbes in it before it gets into your system. And so that's why when you think away how the body's designed, that's a pretty smart feature. So the acid is not just to break your protein down, but it's also to sterilize whatever you put in your body because there could be various germs on
Mhm.
that. And think about that next time you go out and somebody prepares your meal and you see the guy sneezing as he's carrying your food out your door and everything, that somebody in the cook. And if you never worked in the
Yeah.
back of a restaurant, you can see how
Yeah.
they handle food and everything. Everybody's
Yeah.
grabbing it. Oh yeah, yeah, they're just doing stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And it happens. And so you need that acid to help break down any bad pathogens that may be in the food, or may somebody sneezed on your food before they beautifully served it to you.
Yeah, and I feel you, and so while on the go, like how are they able to get these acids and and help them to break down their enzymes? So for digesting, why are they on the go? Like I don't know if you stated that, but like how are they able to what do they need to do or get to do that?
There's digestive enzymes. I'm a big fan of digestive enzymes, and there's various kinds of enzymes you can purchase. The enzymes that are just pure enzymes. Okay, there's enzymes that I like a lot that are have a that have that the capsule is
Mhm.
maybe half loaded with enzyme, half loaded with just acid. There's
Okay,
other capsules that are just pure acid. And I mean, I've had patients where we would just get, and please don't do this without some guidance out there because the
okay, I'm
last thing
about
you
to
want to
say.
do is be taking acid pills and not know how to dose it properly and
Yeah,
everything.
I'm about to
But
ask
if
you that.
if you do, just if you do add some acid to help break down your food, to help if you get that burn. This is why apple cider vinegar was so
Okay,
popular for so long because what it does, it brings a certain amount of acid to the body to help break down food. But just FYI, if you do get without proper guidance, if you do take some acid pills out, they're very inexpensive. But what it does is that if you have too much acid in your system, in your body, in that meal, maybe you didn't need that much,
hmm,
and so just drink a cup of water.
okay,
All it's going to do is dilute the concentration of
yes,
acidity that's in your stomach, and just remember when you eat food, it's going to sit in your stomach for a good 30, 40 minutes, 2 hours or
yeah,
longer,
mm,
especially if it's a protein meal. Because protein's going to keep churning and churning and churning inside your stomach until it breaks it down. And again, this is why the way it's designed. If you think about it, your stomach, the inside lining of your stomach is kind of acid resistant. That's the only organ in your body that is acid resistant. And so your body produces acid to help break down that food, purify anything that's in there. And I know I talked about this a minute ago, but you think about the old Lost in Space episode, the old Star Trek episode, when they first
Hmm.
came back out of onto the spaceship, they sat in
Yeah,
this little room and all of a sudden it's just
yeah,
meant to clean off everything, any kind of bugs that are in this outer space that may harm you. Well, that's
right,
kind of
right.
what the stomach does with the acid in your tummy to kill off any of the microbes, the
Mm.
bacteria, the viruses, the pathogens, the worms that may be in your food.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, that's more a more healthier option than because you have heard people like down in sodas, especially like Sprite or something like that, to help with their digestion and so forth. So that's definitely a better alternative than that, right?
I couldn't hear the last part of what you were saying there, Trey.
I said, like what you were talking about, taking the acid with the enzymes and so forth. I said that's a more healthier option than a person. Because a lot of people like they'll drink a Sprite after they meal or during their meal to help break down and stuff like that. So it's way more healthier option is what you're saying than
Yeah,
just
yeah,
doing that.
and let me also suggest also as far as what you're talking about, drinking something. Guys, when you see the animals at the zoo eating, they're not there eating, half of the carcass and say, "Let me get some water here, let me get some juice here, let me get some wine here." And so, you're diluting your body's ability to break down that food. And just think about this. Kind of, I like to use the analogy like washing your clothes in the washing machine. For those of you who wash their own clothes, right?
Mhm.
You'll understand this analogy. But when you wash your clothes, you're putting all this water in there, but you're adding detergent to shake everything up so you can kind of get, well, that's what you're doing when you eat your food. Your body, it's moving in your tummy and everything. You're adding the enzymes, you're adding the acid to break it all down. Like the washing machine, if you put too much water for the amount of detergent you put in there, you're diluting the concentration of the detergent. Well, the same thing goes if you follow what I'm saying, the same thing goes if you sit here and have your steak and chicken or whatever it is and everything, and you drink, a quart of liquid, you're diluting the concentration of the acid that your body is supposed to make or that you're swallowing to
Mhm.
break down your food. And so just be careful with how much you drink when you eat, because
Okay.
again, all you're doing is kind of diluting the concentration of the enzymes in the acid needed to break down your food.
Okay, I'm glad you broke it down like that because I'm gonna tell you a quick story because my granddad he used to like when used to go to Alabama during the summer and everything. He wouldn't let us eat and drink at the same time, and so and you be wondering why you think he punishing you, but you don't know what's going on. But they knew something we didn't, but then we just didn't carry that on as when we got older and got kids and we kind of let them drink and so forth, but it's a rhyme and reason that you just gave to it, and I'm glad that you had, stated that because I think people need to hear that the reason why you should eat first and then drink later.
Yeah, and having 8 ounces of something is not going to torment your body, possibly. But it's when you just knock down the big super duper big gulp, whatever it is, that's full of fluid in there.
Right,
You know,
right. Yeah, I
you're
get what you say.
think of it like your laundry. Do you have enough detergent in there to
Gotcha.
break down the
Okay,
concentration of
kind
the
of balance.
dirt on on your clothing and everything? So it's just kind of one of those games.
Yeah, more like a balance. Then if you're gonna take a sip, if you're gonna drink something, make it small sips or something like that.
Yeah,
Not
just
not.
to help you move it along, but, and believe me, I'm just as guilty, I'll go to the sports bar, watch a ball game and everything, and I'm more than 1 or 2,
Yeah,
48 ounces
right.
go down within
Yeah.
20, 30 minutes and everything, but it's just one of those games out there.
Yeah, yeah. I feel, and I'm guilty of it too. So but like I said, I just wanted to shine a light on that, the reason why, because
Yeah.
not a lot of folks understand why. That's what I'm saying. I'm glad you shared that. And then one more thing, then we're gonna move into your 5 steps and so forth. Now, when you were talking about people you need to just eat enough to be less hungry, what did that mean? Can you break that down a little bit more?
Yeah, eat to what you feel you need to nourish your body with and everything. And as I said, the first rule, do no harm to your tummy. Is it what you eat or how you eat? Okay. And here's the thing. Let me share the third one, and then hopefully it kind of resolves some of what we're talking about here. The third part is: are you keeping your metabolism? Because I know a lot of people are worried about their weight, right? Not just consuming it so you can break it down, but what's it doing to your body? Are you keeping your metabolism? What you're eating, is it helping keep your metabolism at? I'm going to just use some broad, simple numbers here at that 80-20 ratio, meaning 80% of the calories you're going to burn after you eat are going to come from the breakdown of fat and 20% from carbs and protein, or is what you eat and how you eat shifting it to 50-50 to where now your burn rate is you're burning carbs and protein as the same rate you're burning fat. Where the way the good Lord designed the body, it's more like the 80-20 burn rate, unfortunately, because of what we eat, how we eat, skipping meals, waiting too long to eat between meals, right? Eating the wrong meal, which further exaggerates your blood sugar and then it starts dropping. And that just kind of changes that burn rate to where your metabolism, instead of burning predominantly fats throughout the 23 hours of the
Okay.
day, and I know there's 24, but for the 23 hours of the day, has it shifted now instead of being 80-20, where you're burning mostly fat, now it's kind of a 50-50 split. And that's not good. And that could be why you're lacking energy. You don't feel strong. You're forgetful. You're just running into other difficulty.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you shared that. And so because what I want to go to is now we talk about your 5 steps. All right. So what is the 5 steps and how does it help people in their day-to-day life and habits?
Okay. Hey, how many in your audience here are tracking their physical steps, right? I know there's probably some, I don't know if you do it yourself, Trey, as far as they're tracking their physical steps because they want to get their 10,000 steps in. They want to make sure they're doing something. I don't know if that's you or not, but you're familiar with people that there's a lot of people
Yes.
that do that, right?
Right.
Well, 5 steps is basically the same thing, but instead of just tracking how you're moving your body, I'll show you what 5 steps in less than 2 minutes. You can track not just how you're moving the body, how you're feeding your body, but also track how you're feeding your mind and how you're feeding your spirit. Less than two
Mhm.
minutes, you can quickly see, are you doing the things that could be beneficial for you to get where you want to go?
Okay.
If not, maybe they can open your eyes that some of your habits and attitudes need to be readjusted to hopefully get to where you want to go. And so 5 steps a day is just a simple way to track how you feed body, how you feed your mind, how you
Mhm.
feed your spirit. Because sometimes when, yeah, I'm doing a good job there. I'm doing this. But, put it on paper and pencil, you can start
Mhm.
saying, I guess I'm really not doing a good job on my fitness stuff. I'm really not doing a good job feeding my subconscious mind. Yeah, I'm really not doing a good job feeding my spirit. So it's just a quick way to see we are body, mind, and spirit. And in less than 2 minutes, you can track to see, improve those habits and attitude, but you got to know what you need to improve on. And so that's what 5 steps. It's a simple way to track body, mind, and spirit.
Okay. All right. Cool. So can you break that down a little bit more? Because you got it as an acronym. So STEPS. So what do each letter mean, and what are those 5 steps?
Okay, thank you, Craig. The steps it's 5 steps, and the
Mhm.
word steps is an acronym for sleep,
Mhm.
think, eat, physical, and spirit. And so, if you, for example, people that are tracking their physical steps and moving their body, closing the ring, if you did something to move your body today, you shade in the P, the physical step. Great. Okay. Did you eat right today? I'm not asking if you ate perfect, but did you at least eat more good meals than bad? In simple terms here, hey, I did eat pretty good. It's going to help me get to my goal. Yes, 3 meals, 3 good meals today would be great. But sometimes, hey, a good breakfast, a good lunch. Oh man, I had a really cruddy dinner. And a lot of people they quit dieting after that. But if hey, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? You
Yeah.
took 2 steps, 1 step back.
Mhm.
You're still moving forward. Home runs are great, but you can still win with base hits, right? If you're a
Yeah.
baseball
Most
guy.
definitely. Yeah.
And so like 2 points, 2 points are good, 3 points are better, but that's a whole nother story also.
I
But
got you.
but that's what if you ate good, shade in the eat. And what we're doing is you're going to start shading in those 5 footsteps. And when you look at that, it's kind of like Seinfeld's calendar. If your audience is familiar with it, if you're familiar with it, Jerry Seinfeld, he has to attribute that a lot of his success was that he took a calendar and he would
Mhm.
every time that he would tell, he knew that if he wanted to be successful in this industry, He needed to write at least 10 jokes a day. That was his kind of
Okay.
his mantra. So if he did that, he would put a big red X on like on Monday. And
Hmm.
if Tuesday came along, if he wrote 10 jokes, just something to help keep him on track to make him better, he would put another red X. And the next day, another red X. And he noticed that after a few weeks, he could look at that whole wall calendar. He'd see a bunch of X's out there. And he didn't like seeing the blank spaces showing that he didn't do
Didn't do it.
anything.
Okay.
And overall, because a lot of us just don't learn by just reading. A lot of us are more visual, right? They're more
Most definitely.
kinesthetic. So there's something about when you shade in your footsteps, right? And you can see over, a day, a week, a month time, you can see how many steps, what are you doing to help make your body, to make yourself bigger, better, bolder in your walk, right? And
Right.
so
Right.
that's all we're trying to do. And so I'll go back to what the steps are. The first step is sleep, right? The S
Right.
part. And
Hmm.
that's, did you sleep and dream about your tomorrow? We all know you shouldn't eat junky food before going to bed, right? But how many of us fall asleep with the remote control in our hand, our cell phone in our hand, and you just let your subconscious mind just boom for those next 7, 8 hours? What are you allowing your subconscious mind to feed off of? So this is what we're trying to do. Let's feed that subconscious mind before you go to bed. Do you know what you want to see happen tomorrow, in 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 years? Do you have anything that you're on purpose for? And those who don't have anything for purpose, they just fall asleep, just waiting, 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 waiting for the movie, and boom, they're out. You're allowing that subconscious mind. And what I've always just learned, guys, I would tell people when I talk, if you can't imagine your dreams coming true with your eyes closed, how much harder is it going to be to make those dreams come true with your eyes wide open? So do you know where you wanna go tomorrow, the next week, next month, when maybe you see yourself, you wanna take a cruise this coming summer, 3, you want a new car, you want this, that, whatever it is you want to dream about, and meaning this is what you wanna attain, hey, do you start putting that in your subconscious mind that this is where I wanna be? Unfortunately, there's a lot of people, this isn't taught in school, right? These are things you have to learn this in books. But we learn math and arithmetic and science and all that stuff in school. But gosh, when you get out there, you're like, hey, where do I want to go? The first 18 years of my life were all pretty well sketched out, right? For some of us, the next 4 or 5 years are pretty well sketched out. After that, you have to start thinking, what do I want? Do I want a job? Do I want a career? Do I want to have a family? How am
Most
I going to
definitely.
get from A, B, or C? And
Yeah.
so, as I say, if you don't complain if you don't if you arrive at the land of headaches and heartache because you never knew where the land of milk and honey was. You didn't know where your pot of gold is, what your goals, dreams, and aspirations are. So, try to figure out where it is you want to go, next week, next month, next year. And again, it doesn't have to be real specific, but and if you don't know, as I always say, you can still ready the ship to sail, right? You know,
Right. Right.
there was a real famous guy we knew that I think his name was Noah, who all he did was just ready the ship to sail, right? He didn't know where he was
Right.
going. But
Most
but that's
definitely.
what we're trying to do. We're trying to say, do you know where your destination is? And so often people they don't know where they want to go. They go to sleep and they wake up and it's kind of like that Legos movie. You're just moving along with everybody else and everything. And that's what the first step is. Did you sleep and dream good thoughts? Did you sleep and dream about your tomorrow? And the
Okay.
second step, the T, is did I think better today? We are what we eat. We've known for thousands of years a man is as a man thinketh. What kind of thoughts are you telling yourself? How long before after you wake up do you even tell yourself that I'm going to have a good day, life is good, I feel great, I'm going to knock it out of the park today? How many people they just immediately grab their phone, turn the TV, turn the radio on, and there's just so much information coming to yourself that you don't have a chance to think, what is it I want to do today? Where am I going? Am I bigger, better, stronger? Or am I just doomed, dazed, and defeated in my internal self-talk and everything? And so
Yeah.
think it's just, what kind of thoughts do you feed yourself, right? And then the last part, the S part, the last S in steps, do you work in your spiritual muscles? You know,
Mm.
I know, in my opinion, to neglect your spirit is like skipping a meal. It leaves you empty. And so we're just trying to say, hey, we are body, mind, and spirit. Are you do anything in your spiritual walk? As my dad taught me, he would say, "What are all those muscles for? Let's use them. Let's get out there. We work, work, work." But it's like the same way, if you only work your physical muscles once a week, once a month, twice a year, how physically strong are you physically going to be to handle carrying the
Mhm.
groceries up the stairs, right? Fixing a
Right.
flat tire. Well, if you only work your spiritual muscles once a week, once a year, once a month, twice a year, when those challenges in life come your way, whether it's a loss of a job, loss of a gig, loss of a partner, headaches here, financial this, how are you, so, we are body, mind, and spirit. And so 5 steps is just in 2 minutes, there's something about visually seeing how well you're doing at feeding your body, mind, and spirit. We're just trying to improve your habits and attitude.
Mhm.
And 5 steps is you can download the app. It's free to download. Check it out for about a few weeks and just see, is it helping you stay on track? Did maybe you didn't know that, yeah, maybe I do have too much stinking thinking. Maybe I need to remind myself a little bit more. Maybe, I used to read some of those books years ago, as far as the Earl Nightingale books and, the power of positive thinking, yada, 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 back in the
Yeah.
70s and 80s. And
Okay.
and I'll share this with you because, my walk, they were like, "Okay, there's too much God in this book." And I got rid of it because I was just going through my walk, right? And, I've gone full circle in my walk, and then, nobody talked me into anything, but it's just I realized you don't make the stomach here, put that the first thing you put your food in here and make it acid resistant unless somebody designed it, in my opinion. But it's just, hey, we are body, mind, and spirit. Are you nourishing each area of those areas? Because I think that's important for you.
Okay. And I appreciate that, letting us know what those 5 steps are. Definitely easy to remember, sleep, think, eat, physical, and spiritual. So yeah, definitely something that we can easily to remember and easily to practice and so forth as well. So definitely y'all check that out. Now
And
with the
I'm
five
going to make the shameful plug here. Again, there's an app for it that you can use. But, for some people, kind of like me, the older crowd that like more paper and pencil,
Mhm.
then you could just shade in your steps physically, like the way Seinfeld did, the way I used to do it, and everything, just shading your stuff. But, that's kind of something it must have been years ago. I think I shared with you earlier. I was did an article on health and fitness, or I was interviewed for an
Mhm.
article, and then Authority Magazine came back and said, "Doc, let's do another one, health and fitness." But, we want to kind of go kind of the whole body, mind, spirit, not just sets and reps and diet. And I shared
Okay.
with them what I created years ago, and they just came and said, "This is the coolest thing. I've never seen anything like it. This is that quickly. You can just kind of track to see, what are you doing for body, mind, and spirit." So it was
Mhm.
kind of a like, well, maybe there's something here. Maybe others would like it. Funny enough, I would share this with other. Everybody has their little circle of friends, right? And I shared it with my circle of friends, and they would all look at it and said, "Yeah, Len, this is cool, but this needs to be an app." I use a calendar, right?
Right, right, right.
And they go, "This is really cool, and, can I have a copy of this?" Because I want
Mhm.
my kids to read this part. And
Yeah.
then I realized that people were saying, yeah, the younger generation, those that are maybe, 15 to 25, 30, they haven't really thought about how they feed their mind. We go to my kids tease me that, we have like the worst food in the house. And
Mhm.
what they're really saying, we don't have enough junky food in our house like some of the other friends do in
Base.
the pantry.
Yeah.
And I go, it's not what we have in the house there, but this is what you feed their body. And what I try to point out when I wrote there's a teen version of 5 steps, the teen young adult.
Okay,
Because,
cool.
when we talk about eating for you and I, and probably most of your audience, we're talking about people that are in their 30s or more, right?
Mhm.
Where if you're in your teens and early 20s, it's all about taste, right? It's all
Yeah,
about
yeah,
taste and
yeah,
convenience. It's not
yeah,
about, hey, I got
definitely.
to check my cholesterol. I got to check, how many calories is there, how many fat grams in there.
Right.
But it's like, hey, what do you need to be eating to make sure that you're gonna do well when you go perform, when you go take your test, when you go
Mhm.
do your athletics out there. There's pre-game meal that I talk about, and there's also that pre-brain meal. When you need your brain firing on, there's certain things you should eat, and there's absolutely certain things you don't want to eat before, if you're going to go for that interview, take that test, give that audition, step out in front of that microphone. There are some things you
Okay.
want to be eating, and there's some things you definitely do not want to put in your system.
Well, yeah, most definitely. And I like that you did a team version because I tell my son he's 19 now, so I tell him all the time, man. Like, look, everything ain't got to taste good, man. You know, you got to like eat because he has sickle cell too, so you got to eat for your condition too, you know, and everything. You got to help it out. So I like, you know, but everything got to taste a certain way. He loved, you know, the junk food, so I'm trying to get him out of that. So that would definitely be helpful for him. I might
But you
need to
know, it's
check
funny
that
because
out.
I have some 18-year-olds in my home, right?
Okay,
And it's the
yeah,
same thing, but they also do realize that, "Ooh, I'm noticing that when I do eat that way, boom, my tummy kind of explodes. Ooh, if I'm gonna go take a test,
definitely,
I
yeah,
want my brain firing on top," and that's why I call it everybody knows what a pre-game meal is, right? That
yeah,
pre-workout meal.
right,
But
right.
it's completely different than if what I call the pre-brain meal. You want the brain firing the best it can, and there are certain things you do not wanna eat, when that happens. So when you go in to take that test, go interview for that job, go, you know, where you need just, go step up to that microphone, right? And you
Yeah.
need to be on as clear as possible. There are certain things you definitely wanna eat, and there's absolutely positively things you do not wanna put in your body because it's gonna help make you sleepy and tired and stuff. Yeah, you don't want that. You want your brain just boom, 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 kicking it the whole time.
Right, right. And so that was gonna be my next question. So so this definitely the 5 steps can definitely be applied to anybody in every facet of life, right?
Absolutely. And I think younger kids, they look at it, the younger generation, maybe 30 and under.
Hmm.
They're still trying to they're starting to get that reality that, hey, life is all about choices. And I know when I always talk about that. You know, when your kids and my kids are about the same age, whether you're getting into high school, college, you know, once you get out of high school, college, man, you have prior to that, you didn't have a lot of choices. Dad, mom made a lot of the choices for you, right?
Right,
But
right.
once you get out there, it's like, ooh, what do I need to do? You know, you're going to have more choices to make. And so are you prepared for that? It's kind of like going for a long walk with a backpack, right? Are you strong enough to carry the load you're taking on? And once you get past, 24, 25, when you're out of college, those that went to college, are you making the choices that's going to make you survivable? You know, are you going to be on your own making it happen and everything? Are you still need help mom and dad taking care of you because you haven't planned well enough. You haven't forethought what you need to be doing to get where you want to go. And so again, 5 steps, each step there's a little short, 6, 7 paragraph to describe what the steps are. You can learn about it on the app and everything. Again, if you're
Okay.
like me, you like paper and pencil, there's a calendar. There's also a journal book you can get as well for those who want to read a little bit more.
Okay. Cool. Cool, man. Like I said, definitely for the teens, I need to check that out myself. So I'm like, let me give that to him, and yeah, hopefully he'll read it. You know what I'm saying? But
Well, that
okay,
that was that was the thing I really remarked. I showed it to my circle of friends, and I thought, "Hey, maybe there's some meat on this thing. There's the product here I can develop." And I showed it to them, and they all dug it. But then they would all say, "Hey, doc, can I have a copy of this? I want to show it to my kid." Because they read the part about the sleep and the thing. Do you know where you want to go? Do you see yourself as a victor when you're in school, when you get a step on the court, step up to the microphone, audition for this, that, and the other. Do you see what you want to have happen? Or do you just kind of like just you wake up and what I got to do today, and then you wonder why you didn't do well? Why? And I see that with my kids, and I've seen it with others as well.
yeah, most definitely, man. Like I said, it's definitely needed. And I always talk about the the youth, child obesity. I always talk about that. You know, it starts at home, and what goes on. Like, and sometimes the parents, if you like kind of try to tell them in a certain way, or like, look, this child, you don't shouldn't be eating this way, and then they kind of get guarded or defensive in the sense that you saying, in a sense, you making it think that making it feel like they ain't doing right by their child by feeding them, but you got to look at it like you got to break those habits out of your how you was doing, so you can be able to teach them too as well. Because once they get into adulthood, they gonna carry those same habits that they had before, and it's just gonna be a perpetual cycle after that.
Well, to what you're saying, I know, and for my career has been trying to help people navigate through that cookie and chip aisle, right? Because a lot of people came for health and fitness reasons, right? How do we navigate through that cookie and chip aisle? Yeah, you can go in there, but do you spend an hour there and load up when you go through there? That's the big question.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
here's the part that's about how we feed our body, right?
Mhm.
Navigating through that cookie and chip aisle. But how are you feeding your mind? And how soon do kids, teenagers, they
Mhm.
start feeding their mental shopping cart? What are they putting into their mental shopping cart? As a
Yeah.
parent, my kids don't put stuff in the shopping cart. I mean, they'll try to get no, we ain't putting that in there. We're not good. We'll have our fair share of junky food, but it's not overloaded in our pantry. But
Most
by the
definitely.
same token, how you feed your body is no different than feeding your mind. But here's the thing: teenagers, young guys that are even 10 years of age to 15, 20, they start feeding. They get full control as to what they get to put into their mental shopping cart. Think about when your kids were little. If you went to the pool, for example, jump, you can jump in. They're just sat there at the edge, like just fearful of jumping.
Yeah.
But they were safe. But in their head, they were like, what I don't know this. And so that's how we all started some of that negative thinking that we allowed to build in our system and everything. And so, just trying to help kids realize that, hey, you are what you think. And if you keep thinking it's going to be a bad day, a credit day, this, that, and the other, you
Yeah.
could help make that come true. But by the same token, if you feel that life is good, I feel great, I'm gonna have a great day today. Maybe you can help mold it that way for yourself as well. So it's just you are what you eat, you are what you think.
Yeah. Okay. Most definitely. I appreciate you sharing that. Y'all go check the 5 steps out. And it's a few things I want to talk about too that before we get out of here and so forth as well. I see that you have created you got a fitness invention or patent on your portable pull-up bar and you had and some supplements that you created too. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, I used to man. I had some success early where I was on TV a lot here in the Dallas area doing stuff and everything. Got invited to the various boards, this, that, and the other, and just kind of got out too far on my skis. In some respect, in some avenues and everything. But yeah, I invented started manufacturing nutritional products based on what I was seeing in my office. Lots of people came with, as I told you earlier, digestive issues and too much stress on their body, right? And how do you counterbalance that so you can continue thriving in what you're doing? And so did that, and I wrote a couple little small books. But my finished product, I'm most proud of that, just for the simple fact that I'm closing in on the end of my seventh decade, right?
Okay.
And I've never had a shot in the rear end, never had a shot in the
Mm,
face. I don't take protein powders or protein shakes. I just eat right, train smart. And with my portable pull-up bar, it's just a simple way for after you get past 40, 50, 60, can you do 5-minute hit workouts? As many push-ups and pull-ups as you do in 5 minutes. And that's how you get that testosterone hit that you want to get that muscles to grow. And I share that because of all the questions I've ever gotten over my span as a doctor. Probably the most common question I would get from people was, "Doc, there could be, when 20, 30 years ago, I'm still about the same weight I was 20, 30 years ago. I'm about the same size. I'm still working out, doing my 3 or 4 workouts a week and everything, but it's not the same anymore. I've lost that tone.
yes.
What's wrong? Why is this happening?" And the real secret, which is not a secret, is that, hey, is it your workout or is it your diet or is
That
it
yeah.
both? And for a lot of people, this is why I talk about training smart. Intensity matters. If you want to
Mhm.
get that testosterone hit, you have to push those muscles. Just doing,
Yeah.
walking is a stressful on the body, right? If you're going after a 30-minute walk, that's a stress on your body, and it might jack up your testosterone a hair, right? Just a little bit. Jogging, a little bit more stressful, and it may jack up your testosterone just a little bit more.
Mhm.
But sprinting, hitting the heavy bag, getting that ninth and 10th rep out, that's how you get that testosterone to kick up and everything. Unfortunately, people, once they get past 30, about 40 or so, they go, well, I'm doing more aerobic stuff. Big
Yeah.
fan of aerobic workout, right? I'm huge fan. Most people do their aerobic workout too fast for
Mhm.
for their current level of conditioning, which means it's
Mhm.
not really aerobic for them. But when I do my aerobic workout, it's designed to burn fat when I do my anaerobic workout with my portable pull-up bar, just, 5 minutes, 3 times a week, as many
Yeah.
push-ups as I can, get that testosterone hit. Before I broke my back, I was in the gym a lot, but
Yeah.
since then it's not. It's just, hey, I just want to, for being closing in on the end of my seventh decade and everything, for just doing push-ups and pull-ups 3 times a week, sprint workout, hitting the heavy bag. Those are all designed to just get that testosterone hit. Then I go do my aerobic workout, nice and easy to burn fat. So, keep my resting heart rate in that low 50, which is good
Yeah.
for someone as old as me.
Okay. And I like that pull up bar too, and what you were saying too, 'cause that definitely can help artists, entertainers while they on the road and so forth. They in their hotel room, they can just put that in. You got some hotels that do have fitness equipment in it, but some don't. And especially, or if they on a tour bus or something like that, they can pop that in and still get some kind of decent workout and testosterone, especially for us guys. That testosterone is important. You
Hey,
know,
for the guys out there like that know something, hey, you take it on the road with you. You got 2 or 3 guys, like 2 or 3 firemen out there. Hey,
yeah,
that don't have a fitness center there. Hey, how many push-ups and pull-ups can you do in 5 minutes? Go. Then the
yeah,
next guy, how many can you do?
yeah,
Go. Hey, your ego gets in the way and everything. But that's how you
yeah.
get that testosterone hit. And that's all I'm looking. I'm not looking to get 20-inch biceps. I just want to still, as I would say, I want to look better, feel better, and sleep better. Right.
Most definitely.
And so the secret is you got to get that testosterone hit. And again, most people, they do their workouts. You need to be at this intensity to get that testosterone hit. They're working
Mhm.
out down here and they're not
Okay.
getting that testosterone because they're not pushing their body. The greatest research, the best research out there, and we've known it for 50 some odd years, is progressive resistance training. Progressive, increasing the stress on the body, put more weight on the bar, do more reps, do less rest in between. What are you going to do to put more stress on the body? Because once you can do 10 and then 10 and then
Yeah.
10, you do it again and again, your body knows it can do it. I don't have to get any stronger. I can already do what he's
Mhm.
putting on my body. Oh, but if I'm going to do 11 or 12, or I'm going to add another 5 pounds on there, or I'm going to just decrease the recovery time, hey, that's harder now. And that's how you get that testosterone. And that's what's missing in so many people's fitness protocol when it comes to trying to keep that muscle and yeah, trying to keep that muscle, which is the biggest complaint everybody has.
Most definitely. Yeah, okay. And I'm glad and appreciate you sharing that too as well. I seen that. I said, "Oh, okay, cool." I don't get too many people like inventing any fitness products and everything. So I wanted to shine a light on that as well. Now, let you get out on here. I got two things I want to touch on. Now, you said like we've been talking about dieting and you for body, mind, and soul, and how breaking down enzymes and whole whatnot, or how you should be eat the more of the how than the what. So with that said, you said when you have a cheat meal, you have a cheat meal. So can you talk about that? 'Cause I believe the reason why I'm saying can you speak on that is because I think with us fitness professionals, we kind of looked at a certain way, like we all perfect, and we tend to we don't stray from the norm, or what we preach to our, or I ain't gonna say preach, but what we help and teach with our to our clients and so forth. But I think they need to see the other side of with us too as well. We are human, and we do eat certain food that not necessarily quote unquote healthy, but or in a certain way, but at the same time we know what to do to get back on track, or not necessarily that we getting off track, but we know what to do in order to keep going and not fall and not to fall off track, or stay off track as well. Can you speak to that?
Cheat meals. Yeah, I always tell everybody, you typically, on average, you have an opportunity to take 21 steps towards better health when I see you next week, right? 21 steps, meaning 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, 21 steps. Now, do I expect you to have 21 perfect meals by the time I see you next week? No. But if you have maybe 17 or 18 good meals, okay, and you have 2 or 3 cheat meals, 4 meals, cheat meals, you're moving in the right direction. I'm just trying to get people to say, hey, you don't want to have 13 good meals and 8 bad meals. 13 minus 8 is, you didn't get very far. And so when it comes for me, my cheat meal, I'm an ice cream guy. I love ice cream, anything chocolate and with ice cream, especially any kind of cake with ice with the chocolate in there,
Cake guy too.
unless it's carrot cake too. But it's just I do it to where that's gonna be the whole thing. I mean, my kids tease me that I can eat the whole tub of ice cream in one sitting, and
Mhm.
that's what I'll do. But here's the thing: I want to make sure when I do cheat, though, have my cheat meal, I make sure I have enzymes around so I can break it down in fiber. Those are the 2 things I tell everybody when they go on vacation. Just eat what you want. Your stress hormones are gonna be less because 'cause you're on vacation, so that cortisol levels are gonna be dropping down, but you
Mhm.
still wanna make sure that what you don't wanna just say, "Well, I don't wanna eat that right now, I'm on eat it, enjoy it, and don't feel guilty, but then when you eat it, after you eat it, take with you some digestive enzyme so you can break it down so it doesn't just make you feel cruddy the whole time, but then also you wanna take some fiber to help push it out of your body as quickly as
Right.
possible too. And so that those are the things I always do when I have my cheat meal. I'll make sure I have enzymes so I can break it down because I overloaded my body in ice cream. I
Yeah.
overloaded on cupcakes and ding dong and things like that and
Right.
donuts.
Right.
And so I want to break out all that starchy, junky food I ate, and the fiber. I want to get it out and keep it flowing. Just keep it moving and everything to get out of my body.
Yeah, most definitely. And like I said, I don't eat all the way 100% healthy either. But I always tell people if you, I don't like when I say cheat meal. I try to tell them, usually when a cheat meal just mean that meal. Most people take it as a cheat day, and then that cheat day turns into a cheat week, and then they get off all the track. So I try to tell them, man, don't look at you cheating. That like you can have the foods that the indulgent food that you like to have, but you can but make it beneficial, even if it is like a little bit more than what you should have some practices around it, like okay, go for a walk, make sure the next meal is a little bit more nutritious, or exercise, stuff like that and everything. And so I always try to tell them, I'm not that one to say you can't eat this, can't eat that. It is balances and everything on how you approach it.
You said it exactly right. And again, this is kind of what the steps are about. Did you at least have more good meals than bad? So many people they'll start a diet. They're good for the first day, 3 days, 5 days. Ooh, they went out to dinner with their friend. It was an anniversary, it was a birthday, it was some whatever thing, and you just blew your diet and everything. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, that when they fall off the wagon, they stay off the wagon. I go, hey, you had a bad meal, fine, enjoy it and everything. Tomorrow's another day to start a good breakfast, good lunch, and maybe tomorrow you have another bad day. But the idea is to have more good meals throughout the day, throughout the week, than you have bad meals. And again, if you have an opportunity to take 21 steps towards your goal of better health, I don't expect you to take 21. But I like you to get you up in that 16, 17, 18 number range and everything. Have your cheat meals. Be content. Hey, I got that. And for me, that was always been look forward to it. I used to call it the 5 and 2 dieting habit. 5 days, treat your body like a temple, eat real good for 5 days. And then on Saturday, Sunday, that's when I would have my big cheat meals. I used to be so proud of, it can be this was before I broke my back. I could be this well physique and everything, and I eat this much ice cream and this much cupcakes and things like that and everything. So I never really went full bore into it, but
Hmm.
it's just you are what you eat and you are what you think. What are you putting in? Are you putting too much bad junk in your body? Are you putting enough more good junk in your body to keep you on that side of the curve?
Most definitely. And yeah, like I said, I just wanted to shine a light on that in a more relatable and real way. Because a lot of them think like, okay, that fitness professional or people who talk about health and help with health, that they are all the way 100% this way and they don't do anything wrong or outside coloring outside the lines, so to speak, and whatever. So I just wanted to shine a light on it. And I'm glad you addressed that for me.
Well, like I
Okay,
tell my
cool.
kid, "Hey, I'm old enough to where, hey, I'm not worried about that stuff. I've done pretty good at being, in 67 years of age and everything. Never had a shot in the face. Don't paint my hair. It's just
Mhm.
I eat right and I train smart. Make sure I get the
Most
best out
definitely.
of what I'm doing, both what I'm putting in my body, what I put in my mind, and how I exercise my body. But yeah,
Most
digestive
definitely.
enzymes and fiber, those are the real secrets to making sure that you can enjoy your cheat meals and not have it really clog you up,
Yeah.
if you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, most definitely taking on 5 steps every day. Definitely, man. And the last thing I want to touch on is you said you were an actor for 5 years, and like, can you talk about the experience and what happened? Like, what made the change or switch from there?
Yeah, yeah. I think I was on my mid to late 20s and everything. And me and my brothers had a glove company. We used to manufacture professional baseball batting gloves and everything. We were doing well. I bought a house and everything was doing great. But then we lost it. I lost my house, lost my car, and so just had those difficulties in my life and everything. And it's like, well, what do I want to do right now? Gosh, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I happened to be at the gym working out in my apartment complex there, and I was sharing the bench press with this other guy, and we started talking. He was about my age and everything, and we just started talking, and he told me what he did. I go, "Oh, you're an actor."
Hmm.
Wow, really? And so, we're late 20s, right? I go, well, that's cool and everything. And I go, really? And I just never really met a real actor, right? And
Hmm.
he was telling me about it. And so we became friends and we started hanging out a little bit and everything. And that must have been, a few months later, he said, hey, Len, I just got a part in this play and everything. It's a big play, but they're
Hmm.
looking for some smaller role. This would be your chance to get into it and everything. Because people knew when I was growing up that I would have liked to have been a professional athlete. But
Okay.
that didn't happen. And so my dream that nobody really knew that I would love to have been a professional actor, right? A famous actor and everything. And then I get out there, I meet this guy, and so he kind of helped guided me into that industry. And next thing you know, I'm doing these various commercials, this, that, and the other. Just kind of started growing from there, and from Houston to Dallas to move to Chicago, Los Angeles. But as I said, after about 5 years ago, hey, I'm not making enough money. I gave it a shot. I was able to, for the fact that fully invest in it because I
Hmm.
was still single. I was
Right.
27, 28 years of age. I didn't have a wife or a kid that depended on me. So if things were tough and everything, but
Hmm.
things were okay and everything. But I had all the various jobs doing this and that and the other.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that's kind of just the evolution of how I got into that industry. But it was, yeah, it's like being a professional athlete. Only a
Yeah.
small percentage really come out of it ahead, and there's only a small percentage of actors. And I always joke I didn't become Tom Cruise's best friend, and so I need to get out of here. And luckily I met this one. I was a doorman at one of the nicer hotels out there, and I happened to meet a doctor out there at a conference, and we just started chatting and chatting, and he was one of those guys that what does Dr. Phil say? There's always about 4 or 5 people in your life that really help turn your life for you.
Hmm.
And just by chance meeting this gentleman, we just created a conversation, started talking, and whatever he saw in me, I told him that I have this fitness product, and he let me come to his house in Las Vegas to present it to him, and this is back in the '80s. Yeah, this is like early '90s,
Okay.
and I go to his house, and there was no Google Maps or anything like that,
Yeah,
so I had to go get
I
a
know.
cab
Yeah.
to get to this
Yeah.
guy's house and everything. I get to the house, and I'm going, "Oh my god, whose house? Who is this guy?" I mean, it
Yeah.
was just, and he was just, I guess, one of the big wigs in the chiropractic industry. And
Okay.
so, yeah, he was kind of even a major impetus in me going back into school instead of going into physical therapy. He goes, Len, I
Okay.
think you're just talking with you. I think you have something about you. You need to be able to help diagnose and tell people what they need to be doing and everything. And so he was kind of very instrumental in kind of moving me from actor away from physical therapy into becoming a chiropractor.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. What shifted it from there and everything? But like, okay, okay, cool. So that was the start, and then you just kind of shift more back into where you were before in the fitness or wellness space. Okay.
Yeah, and
Cool.
as I
Cool.
said, when I broke my back in my early 20s, saw the various different doctors and everything, but there was this one doctor who was a chiropractor, but he seemed to be the only one to help me with my pain. And I was just always fascinated by how he did it versus, here's some take these pills and everything. And that always just stuck in my back of my mind. And what, 7, 8 years, 10 years later, I remember that conversation I had. I spoke about this earlier on an airplane, and from that investigative report, it said alternative medicine, natural medicine. And so it just kind of
All right.
they were setting the stage for me.
Most definitely. Okay. All right. And so we talked about a great deal here, Lynn. Dr. Lynn, would you is there anything else that we haven't discussed or talked about that you would like to talk?
No, no, I appreciate your time, Trey, and everything. It's been a joy out here to chat with you and bring up old memories and everything. But
Right, right.
yeah, I appreciate you letting me come on out and talk with your audience and everything. And if they have questions on health and fitness, if they need to improve body, mind, and spirit, I encourage you to check out 5 Steps a Day. It may be what in 2 minutes you can track to see if you're doing what you need to be doing to get where you want to go.
Yeah, most definitely. And last two questions I got for you before we close it on out here. So, out of everything that we discussed here today, what would you say is the biggest takeaway people can get from this conversation?
Big takeaway: you are what you eat. You are what you think. Right? I know we're talking health and fitness. Just because you ate it doesn't mean your body absorbed it. So just keep that in mind, because so many of the patients I've worked with in the past, they oh, I have a really great diet. Yeah, but once you ingest it, the fact you're eating on the go, on the run, in the car in a hurry, you're not breaking it down, and that's why you're having these other symptoms, these other maladies. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And appreciate you for sharing that. And the last question is like, what's some advice for not only the artists and entertainers out there or the creatives, but people who live in a busy lifestyle? Because we kind of talked about that a little bit for us. People when diet on the go. What would be some advice of them carrying out a more healthier and fit lifestyle?
Well, you got to see where you want to go. Like anything in life, whether it be for your health, whether it be your career, whether it be your personal life and everything, do you know where you want to go? I mean, I used to visualize. I mean, I didn't get married till I was 39. I was late in my, and so I dated a lot more than my fair share. I should say that, but it was like, hey, but I always knew I wanted to get married and everything, have a family and have kids and everything. And it's like, how come this isn't happening? And so I used to go to bed at night just visualizing, dreaming of that wedding. Yeah, I didn't know how to visualize conceptually having a wife, kid, but I would think, hey, I need to get married before I have a family and all that stuff. So I used to visualize the wedding,
Right,
and
right.
and then sure enough, a few years later, the wedding was almost exactly the way I dreamed about it. I could just see her when I would close my eyes at nighttime. I would just see the back of the church. There was this beautiful woman, just statuesque there in this white. I couldn't see the
Mhm.
face. Just was
Yeah.
wearing this white, the white wedding gown and everything. My mom and dad were there, my brothers, my friends. The church was full and everything, and
Right.
it happened almost exactly like I dreamed about it. Where she came racing down that runway. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
I exaggerated that last part, but it was a lot like that. Everything was pretty much exactly the same part except
Yeah.
that little fudge at the end.
Okay. All right. Cool. Cool. Again, appreciate you for sharing that. And again, Dr. Lynn, let everybody know once again where they can find you, partake in your services, get the 5 Step program. I see you got some books too as well.
Hey, Trey, again, thank you so much for letting me be a guest on your show and opening me up to your audience out there. Guys, if you want some more help in any of these areas, you can always find me at drlenlopez.com. That's Dr. Len Lopez. Please check out 5 Steps a Day. If you're struggling somewhere in your walk, as I said, if you don't know where your proverbial land of milk and honey is, don't be surprised if you end up at the land of headaches and heartache. So take a minute. Maybe 5 Steps could be helpful in helping you in your journey to get what it is you want out of life and everything. So again, Trey, thank you so much for letting me be on your show and everything. It's been a pleasure.
You're most definitely welcome, man. And I appreciate you for coming on the show, sharing your wisdom, your journey, and your 5 Step program to us because it definitely was helpful, man. Like I said, I'm gonna check that out myself and show my son and let him see. Hopefully, he take heed to it because I be trying to tell him things. I guess I'm too close to him, but so maybe that will help him and everything.
I have
And
that
it will.
same headache with my kids.
Yeah. So you see what I'm talking about, you going what I'm going through. But
Um,
yeah, appreciate you again for coming on. Definitely love to have you back. So you got something else in the pipeline, shoot them my way, and then we can see what's what and rock out it again.
Let me know if you want them back. I'll be more than happy to share more insights with whatever I can do.
All right, cool, cool. So with that said, man, this has been Sculpt N Create. I'm your host, Trea Da Fit Artist. My guest, Dr. Len Lopez. Stay sculpting, stay creating. We out of here. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. If you enjoyed it, be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. If you're looking for fitness coaching to help you reach your goals, want to join our animated network for fitness guidance, collaborations, networking, and community, or are interested in being a guest on the show, check out the links in the description. Stay creative, stay fit, and we'll holler at you next time.